Before 6 o'clock, a full update on the coronavirus. The disease is officially a pandemic.
Newsbeat.
Eleanor here, Newsbeat sports reporter, because we're now seeing the first Premier League match cancelled because of the virus.
It's already started to hit live music in the US. It could do the same here too. This is Jimmy Blake with an update on that.
And it's Callum in Stoke finding out what it means for your money. The government's announced more help for dealing with the virus in the budget this afternoon.
BBC Newsbeat.
First, though, he was one of the most powerful people in Hollywood. But today, Harvey Weinstein has been jailed for 23 years for rape and sexual assault. Our entertainment reporter Sinead Garvan is here.
Well, the film producer appeared in court in a wheelchair and spoke for the first time, saying he had deep remorse, but described himself as totally confused by what had happened. His lawyers appealed for the minimum sentence of 5 years, saying that could be a life sentence for the 67-year-old. But all 6 women who testified against him during the trial sat together and watched as he was sentenced to 23 years in jail.
And going back to when all these claims started coming out, it reignited the Me Too movement, didn't it?
Yes, so dozens of women came forward in October in 2017, claiming they were sexually assaulted by Weinstein. And this was the first one to go to trial. So potentially there could be more. His lawyers say they're appealing this conviction, but he still faces further charges for rape and sexual assault in Los Angeles.
So what has the reaction been today?
Well, here's Gloria Allred, who represented some of the victims.
This is what justice looks like. 20 plus 3 years sentence handed down by Judge Burke this morning.
One group who also represents some of the victims said in a statement he is going to jail, but no amount of time will repair the lives he ruined, the careers he destroyed, or the damage he has caused.
Newsbeat.
Thanks to Sinead. On to the coronavirus then. The World Health Organization now says the disease can be described as a pandemic. Our reporter Govinda Gill is here. So that word might sound a bit scary. What does it actually mean?
A disease is described as a pandemic when it's spreading across multiple countries and continents. It's not a word that gets used very often. Swine flu was declared a pandemic back in 2009, and so was HIV back in the 1980s. The word refers to how widespread a disease is, not how serious. Remember, most people who get this illness, Covid-19, have mild symptoms and recover. But it's important we all help stop in spreading it because it's dangerous for older people or those with breathing or heart problems.
There has been some advice about that from the government today, hasn't there?
Yes, Downing Street's put out a video on socials this afternoon with Boris Johnson asking questions to the Deputy Chief Medical Officer. I'm going to tell you what's in it because the sound quality is not great. Dr. Jenny Harry says there's no need to ban large gatherings at the moment. She also says you shouldn't wear a face mask unless you're ill and a medical professional's given you that face mask. But she repeats the main advice: wash your hands a lot. If you have a high fever, a cough and maybe shortness of breath, stay at home and contact the NHS on 111.
Lots of different things to get into on this. We've got a busy studio tonight. Our sports reporter Eleanor Roper's here as well.
Yeah, because football is no longer immune from the virus. Manchester City versus Arsenal tonight is the first Premier League tie to be cancelled. It's because a number of Arsenal players are in isolation after playing Olympiacos a couple of weeks ago. The owner of the Greek side has now tested positive for coronavirus.
And that's just the start of the story because that game is cancelled, but it looks like others are going to go ahead.
Yeah, so Olympiacos say the rest of their staff and players have all been tested and that none of them have the virus. Wolves play the Greek side tomorrow, but despite asking UEFA for it to be postponed, UEFA has said no, and the tie will go ahead but behind closed doors. In a statement, Wolves say the trip to Greece poses an unnecessary risk to players, staff and supporters.
Hi Newsbeat, my name's Tim Spears. I'm Wolves reporter for The Athletic.
Thank you for speaking to us, Tim, and you're chatting to us from Athens.
This is a massive deal for Wolves. This is the first time they've been in Europe for 40 years. But this time, it was a very muted atmosphere this morning on the plane over and at the airport.
Now, the club obviously didn't want the game to go ahead. They applied to UEFA for it to be postponed. What do you make of the decision by UEFA for it to go ahead?
I just don't understand the logic in it, really. If Wolves have been put at even the slightest bit of risk, then why would this game go ahead? You know, Arsenal's game was cancelled because they came into contact with the Olympiacos owner 12 days ago. Yet this game is at Olympiacos and yet it still goes ahead. So it's kind of, you know, what's more important at the end of the day? Is it people's health or a football match?
And the club have said that in their statement is pretty strongly worded, saying, you know, some things are